everyone, welcome back to 996. The Howl, two losses in a row for the Coyotes, both 5-3, both to teams that reside in Florida. Coyotes struggling on the road. They're 0-8-2 in their last 10 games on the road. Their last win on the road, 18 games ago against the Carolina Hurricanes. I believe that was a 4-0 win. I think I said, before the season started and even really early at the beginning of the season, if the Coyotes were to win games, I would want them to happen at home. So that seems to be the trend going on. Coyotes are really dominant at home with a great record. I think their most recent record is 6-1 at home. But like I said, haven't won on the road in the past 10 games. So yes, it's good that if they're going to win, at least it's at home. Bit of a double-edged sword if you're solely on the tank ship that, if you want them to lose and never win, what does that say to the home of Mullet Arena and Tempe in general? It's better to have a good atmosphere there, get the crowd into it, rather than it being miserable at the Mullet. I know there's a lot of depth to the Coyotes season this year. Fans are kind of deciding, what are we going to do? They look at Bedard highlights in the World Juniors and they're like, what are we doing? And they're preaching for regulation losses, where you got two of them back-to-back. This one started, they're down 0-2 compared to being up 2-0 against Tampa. That Tampa game, Coyotes were up 2-0 early. It scared Tampa, and Tampa's like, you know what? We're going to have none of this. We're not going to be the Leafs. They end up winning that game 5-3. Tampa Bay does. Tampa Bay got better as the game went along, pushed back, and showed the Coyotes that they're an elite team. This time, the Coyotes go down 1-0 in the first minute, and then it was such a boring game after that first goal. Until the Panthers' second goal, there was just a big lull, really low event, no penalties, no high danger scoring chances. Coyotes didn't look threatening at all. A couple of defensive mistakes that led to both Florida goals, especially the second goal where Barrett Hayden had a clearing attempt, but it just shot it right at the D-man, to a Florida Panther D-man, who kept the puck in. They end up scoring on that same play. So Coyotes did not look threatening at all. About maybe 2 minutes left in the first, they finally start playing hockey. This is the pushback we tend to see by the Coyotes that, eventually leads to Coyotes playing a really good competitive game and sometimes winning. And that's pretty much what happened, where they started to get their legs under them, started to play good hockey. They draw a penalty on the power play with about 3 seconds left in the period, I believe. Chychrun scores from the money line of Keller and Schmaltz. Schmaltz back in the lineup. He missed an odd game against the Tampa Bay Lightning, and that kind of mixed the lines up a little bit. You had McBain and Michelli's spot with Krause and Bukestad. And then you had Carcone with Boyd and Keller, which sort of didn't work out. Carcone, I'm not really high on Carcone. No, he scored in his first game with the Coyotes this season against the Avalanche, but don't really see him making such a big impact. So hopefully Michelli gets healthy quick. Maybe Gunther comes back next week to the Coyotes. His tournament, the World Juniors, is ending this weekend. I'm not sure if the Coyotes are going to bring him right back up to Arizona Coyotes or bring him down in a 2-week stint with the Tucson Roadrunners. We'll see. I think the Coyotes need that offensive prowess back in their lineup, their secondary scoring. So I think Gunther draws right back in the lineup, send down Dauphin and Carcone, because Roadrunners are struggling with, they're missing their two highest scoring players in the two players I just mentioned. So hopefully Gunther comes back, looks better, is more confident, and gives his team some secondary scoring. It was 2-1 going into the second period. This second period was the most eventful period of the game. A lot of things happening. Coyotes were feeding off the end of that first period with, they got a goal by Keller, who throws a muffin, such a soft backhand from way far out, finds its way in the net. It's tied 2-2. Coyotes are looking really good. And then once they tied it 2-2, I could see on the Florida bench, they were kind of not sort of nervous and frightened, but more like, we can't let this happen. We got to get out there and win this game. We can't lose to the Coyotes. And from then, when the Coyotes tied it 2-2, I feel like Florida gave such a big push, and that push just propelled them to win that period. They made it 3-2, Florida did. I know the Coyotes answered right back with Bukestad's 10th goal of the season to make it 3-3. But it was just a relentless push by Florida. They ended up getting two more goals to make it a 5-3 end of the second period total. But third period, it was more of a structured chess match where no one really scored, and Florida maintained a soft blanket of a 2-goal lead. But that second period, I feel like teams need to learn by what Tampa and what Florida did. I know you shouldn't have to watch tape and learn how to beat the Arizona Coyotes, but to be honest, we saw with the Leafs and the Avalanche. I know the Avalanche were decimated with injuries, but you have to push back. The guys are gonna push, make you work hard, and you just gotta play like a really good game up to your standard. I know Florida doesn't really have a standard this year. They're playing pretty underwhelmingly this season, but Tampa showed, let's just play our game. We're an elite hockey team. We've been to the finals 3 years in a row. Like, we shouldn't be losing and being outworked by the Coyotes. So once these teams start pushing back and maintain that level of pushback, it seems like the Coyotes don't really have an answer, and it ends up being a competitive regulation loss, which I'm fine with, as long as it's not a blowout loss, as long as they don't look dejected and not engaged and not interested. I'm a happy Coyotes fan. It was great to see, a scrum and some fisticuffs near the end of the third period. Gossesbear with a big hit on Barkov, and then Kachuk, didn't like that. Jumps Gossesbear, and then Chikrin and Ritchie start throwing their mitts around. So good to see the team was engaged. Like I said, this team is you can sense they're missing that secondary scoring. I know Bukestad has been scored goals in 3 straight, but just seems like it's not like consistent offensive pressure. Seems like a lot of Bukestad goals are against momentum. He's in front of the net. He capitalizes on a turnover. They're very fortunate goals. They're not goals that are scored based off of, generating offensive possession and dominating the other team like goals by the top line would be. So I'm not downplaying Bukestad. I'm just saying that secondary scoring of just having a lot of offensive chances, generating offensive chances, building off momentum, it's just not really there with Michelli missing. Krause had a good game against the Leafs. Bit quiet against Tampa and Florida. But, he's missing a good playmaker. He needs to be with a good playmaker. I like that McBain was rewarded by playing with them, but I don't think McBain is the answer. It doesn't really seem to me as a playmaker to give Krause some great opportunities to shoot the puck. So definitely missing a playmaker on that second line. It's obvious. And like I mentioned before, hopefully it's Gunther starting next week, getting in that second line winger position. So that's it for me. They got a back-to-back against Philly and Chicago. A bit of a couple tank battles. So we'll see what happens. Maybe at least if they're going to win, they bring it to extra innings so the other team at least gets a point. But should be good games. I expect the Coyotes I expect them to win both of those games. I think the Coyotes are a much better team than both the Flyers and Blackhawks. But you never know. It's a back-to-back. Coyotes could win one, lose one. I'm hoping for Ingram to get a shot. Maybe he'll play against Chicago since it is the weaker team. But hoping Ingram has another good game. He's had a couple good games recently. So hopefully he gets his second win of the season. I believe he's still on his first win. But hopefully Ingram has a good game. And hopefully a couple good games by the Coyotes. So that's it for me. Thank you for watching. If you like what you see, spread the word. As always, thank you for your support.